The haunting tsunami spirits in Japanese taxis. In the aftermath of the catastrophic tsunami that struck Japan in 2011, a college student named Yuka Kudo arrived in Ishi City. Determined to uncover any paranormal encounters following the disaster, she embarked on a quest to interview taxi drivers who might have experienced unusual events. Given that 6,000 lives were lost in the tsunami, Yuka's inquiry seemed ominous from the start. Most people in Ishi City ignored her, dismissing her questions as irrelevant or insensitive. However, 7 taxi drivers agreed to share their spine-chilling encounters, each narrative echoing the others with astonishing similarity. According to these drivers, they had unknowingly picked up spectral passengers, individuals who appeared entirely human but left an indelible mark on the driver's memories. The spirits would seamlessly enter the taxis, instructing the drivers on their destinations. However, the eeriness unfolded when the passengers vanished into thin air without paying, leaving the bewildered drivers to grapple with the surreal aftermath. One particular passenger asked the driver to take her to an area devastated by the tsunami. As the driver described the current state of the location, the spectral passenger posed a haunting question: "Am I dead?" Turning around to face her, the driver discovered an empty seat. She had vanished, leaving an unsettling emptiness in the cab. As Yuka delved deeper into these accounts, she uncovered more hair-raising stories. Another driver recounted a journey where the ghostly passenger provided an address that led to a now-destroyed house, insisting that her family was waiting for her. When the driver expressed his confusion, the passenger dissolved into mist, leaving the taxi engulfed in an eerie silence. The experiences of the taxi drivers weren't confined to specific locations or times of day. One driver narrated an encounter with a spirit that appeared during a sunny afternoon, only to disappear as the taxi approached a memorial site for tsunami victims. The spectral passengers seemed fixated on revisiting places associated with their former lives. Some sought the remnants of their homes, others yearned for reunion with their families. Invariably, the encounters left the taxi drivers shaken, questioning the boundaries between the living and the departed. Yuka's investigation revealed a pattern among the drivers, as if an unseen force sought solace through these spectral encounters. In hushed conversations with locals, she discovered that these eerie tales were not isolated incidents. Some residents even reported glimpses of ghostly figures wandering the desolate shores, their features obscured by the mist rising from the remnants of the once thriving city. As Ishi City slowly rebuilt itself, the haunting encounters persisted, casting a supernatural shadow over the resilient community. The taxi drivers became reluctant conduits between the living and the departed, grappling with an otherworldly phenomenon that defied explanation. The tale of the haunted taxis in Ishi City served as a chilling reminder that, even in the wake of nature's fury, the boundaries between life and death could blur, leaving lingering spirits seeking closure in the most unexpected places. Despite the rebuilding efforts and the city's determination to move forward, the spectral encounters continue to weave an ethereal tapestry of mystery and melancholy. Yuka, undeterred by the unsettling nature of the stories, decided to spend a night with one of the taxi drivers, hoping to witness firsthand the spectral phenomenon that had gripped Ishi City. Choosing a seasoned driver named Hiroshi, known for his stoicism in the face of the paranormal, Yuka embarked on a nocturnal journey through the dimly lit streets. As the taxi traversed the eerily quiet roads, Hiroshi shared his experiences with a solemnity that mirrored the gravity of the events. They received a call to pick up a passenger from an obscure location, a nameless street that seemed to have vanished in the wreckage. The destination provided was a place that no longer existed, a poignant reminder of the devastation wrought by the tsunami. Yuka's heart raced as the taxi approached the specified coordinates. In the back seat materialized a figure, a woman with a presence that transcended the physical. Her demeanor mirrored the haunting tales recounted by the other drivers. A somber silence enveloped the cab as she provided an address that led to the remnants of her former residence. Hiroshi, his hands trembling slightly on the wheel, guided the taxi through the desolate ruins. The ghostly passenger gazed out of the window with a mixture of sorrow and recognition. The once familiar landmarks had crumbled into indistinguishable rubble, and the realization struck her with a spectral sadness that seemed to permeate the very air. As the taxi neared the dilapidated structure, the ghostly woman turned to Hiroshi with tear-filled eyes. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice carried away by an unseen wind. And with those words, she dissipated like mist, leaving only the echo of her gratitude lingering in the vehicle. The encounter left Yuka and Hiroshi in a shared silence, a poignant acknowledgement of the spectral events that continued to unfold in the wake of tragedy. Yuka documented the experience with a mixture of awe and trepidation, understanding that these encounters weren't mere figments of imagination but poignant interactions with souls seeking closure. In the following days, Yuka continued her interviews, weaving together a narrative that transcended the boundaries of the natural and supernatural. The haunted taxis of Ishi City became a symbol of resilience and the enduring connection between the living and the departed. The stories gained attention beyond the city limits, drawing paranormal investigators, journalists, and curious individuals eager to unravel the mysteries that lingered in the aftermath of the tsunami. The haunted taxis became an integral part of Ishi City's history, a testament to the enduring spirit of those who had perished but refused to be forgotten. As time passed, the spectral encounters gradually diminished, and Ishi City continued its slow journey toward recovery. The once haunted taxis returned to their routine, ferrying passengers through the city's revitalized streets, carrying with them the memories of a supernatural chapter that had left an indelible mark on the community. Yet, on certain quiet nights, when the moon hung low in the sky and the waves whispered tales of the past, locals would speak of faint glimpses and distant echoes, a reminder that, in the tapestry of Ishi City's history, the spectral imprints of the tsunami's victims still lingered, seeking solace and closure in the quiet hum of taxi engines and the gentle rustle of the sea. Whispers of the departed, the ghostly tales of the tsunami-stricken school. Yuka Kudo was a fearless journalist who had a passion for uncovering the truth. She had heard rumors of a haunted school in Ishi City, a coastal town that was devastated by the massive tsunami that hit Japan in 2011. The disaster had claimed the lives of hundreds of students and teachers, leaving behind a trail of grief and destruction. Yuka decided to investigate the school, hoping to find out more about the paranormal phenomena that plagued the survivors. She contacted some of the former staff and students, who agreed to share their stories with her. What she learned was beyond her wildest imagination. The school, once a lively and cheerful place, had become a silent and eerie monument to the tragedy. The building was abandoned, but not empty. Strange noises, flickering lights, and moving shadows were common occurrences. The survivors claimed that the school was haunted by the restless souls of the victims, who were unable to move on to the afterlife. One of the stories that Yuka heard was from a group of students who had stayed late one night to prepare for an exam. They were studying in the library when they heard a faint sobbing coming from the hallway. They followed the sound and found themselves in front of a locked classroom. The door had a sign that read, "Do not enter. Danger." The students felt a cold chill, as if someone was watching them from behind the door. They heard a voice, barely audible, saying, "Help me. Please, help me." The voice sounded like one of their classmates, who had died in the tsunami. The students were terrified, and ran away from the scene. Another story came from a custodian, who had worked at the school for over a decade. He was doing his nightly rounds, when he noticed that the lights in the auditorium were on. He went to check, and saw a horrifying sight. The stage was filled with ghostly figures, dressed in costumes and makeup. They were performing a play, as if nothing had happened. The custodian recognized the actors as the members of the drama club, who had been rehearsing for their final show before the disaster. He watched in disbelief as the ghosts acted out their roles, oblivious to his presence. He tried to turn off the lights, but they wouldn't budge. He tried to leave, but the doors were locked. He was trapped in the auditorium, forced to watch the endless performance. A third story involved a teacher who had survived the tsunami but lost her husband and daughter. She had returned to the school a few months after the incident to collect some of her belongings. She went to the staff room where she had spent many hours grading papers and chatting with her colleagues. She was surprised to see that the room was exactly as she had left it, untouched by the chaos. She sat down at her desk and opened a drawer. She found a photo of her family, smiling happily. She felt a surge of emotion, and tears welled up in her eyes. She looked up and saw a reflection in the window. It was her daughter, standing behind her, holding a bouquet of flowers. The teacher gasped and turned around. There was no one there. She looked back at the window and saw her daughter again. She was smiling and said, "Mommy, I miss you. I love you." The teacher reached out to touch her, but her hand went through the glass. The image faded, and the teacher was left alone, sobbing. Yuka was fascinated by these stories and wanted to see the school for herself. She obtained permission from the authorities and visited the school one night. She brought a camera, a recorder, and a flashlight. She hoped to capture some evidence of the supernatural activity. She entered the school and felt a wave of sadness and fear. The place was dark and silent, but she sensed that she was not alone. She walked through the hallways and saw signs of the disaster everywhere. Broken windows, cracked walls, overturned furniture. She also saw traces of the life that had once filled the school. Posters, drawings, trophies, awards. He explored the school, looking for clues and signs of the paranormal. She visited the library, the auditorium, the staff room, and other locations where the survivors had reported their encounters. She didn't see or hear anything unusual, but she felt a strange presence, as if someone was following her. She decided to check out the classroom where the students had heard the sobbing voice. She found the door and saw the warning sign. She ignored it and tried to open the door. It was locked. She kicked it, and it opened with a loud bang. She entered the room and turned on her flashlight. She was shocked by what she saw. The room was filled with water, up to her knees. The desks and chairs were floating, along with books, papers, and other objects. The walls were covered with algae and mold. The ceiling had collapsed, and water was dripping from the hole. The room looked like it had been submerged for years. Yuka felt a surge of panic and wondered how this was possible. She looked around and saw something that made her blood run cold. On the blackboard, there was a message written in chalk. It said, "Welcome to our world." Yuka screamed and dropped her flashlight. The room went dark, and she heard a splash. She felt something grab her leg and pull her down. She struggled and tried to free herself, but it was too late. She was dragged into the water and never seen again. The next day, the authorities received a call from Yuka's editor, who was worried about her whereabouts. He said that she had gone to investigate the haunted school in Ishi City and had not contacted him since. He asked him to check on her and see if she was all right. The authorities sent a team of officers to the school, along with a rescue crew. They arrived at the scene and found Yuka's car parked outside the gate. They entered the school and searched for any signs of her. They found her camera, her recorder, and her flashlight scattered on the floor near the classroom where she had disappeared. They played back the recorder and heard Yuka's voice narrating her investigation. They heard her scream and then a splash. They heard nothing else. They looked at the camera and saw the last photo that she had taken. It was a picture of the blackboard with the message, "Welcome to our world." They opened the door to the classroom and saw the water-filled room. They saw Yuka's body floating in the water along with several other corpses. There were the bodies of the students and teachers who had died in the tsunami. They all had a look of terror on their faces. The officers and the rescue crew were shocked and horrified by the sight. They quickly called for backup and tried to retrieve the bodies. However, as soon as they touched the water, they felt a strong force pulling them in. They screamed and struggled, but it was no use. They were dragged into the water and joined the fate of Yuka and the others. The school remained silent, as if nothing had happened. The ghosts continued to haunt the place, waiting for their next victims. They were still there, and they wanted company. The next day, the authorities received a call from Yuka's editor, who was worried about her whereabouts. He said that she had gone to investigate the haunted school in Ishi City and had not contacted him since. He asked him to check on her and see if she was all right. The authorities sent a team of officers to the school, along with a rescue crew. They arrived at the scene and found Yuka's car parked outside the gate. They entered the school and searched for any signs of her. They found her camera, her recorder, and her flashlight scattered on the floor near the classroom where she had disappeared. They played back the recorder and heard Yuka's voice narrating her investigation. They heard her scream and then a splash. They heard nothing else. They looked at the camera and saw the last photo that she had taken. It was a picture of the blackboard with the message, "Welcome to our world." They opened the door to the classroom and saw the water-filled room. They saw Yuka's body floating in the water along with several other corpses. They were the bodies of the students and teachers who had died in the tsunami. They all had a look of terror on their faces. The officers and the rescue crew were shocked and horrified by the sight. They quickly called for backup and tried to retrieve the bodies. However, as soon as they touched the water, they felt a strong force pulling them in. They screamed and struggled, but it was no use. They were dragged into the water and joined the fate of Yuka and the others. The school remained silent, as if nothing had happened. The ghosts continued to haunt the place, waiting for their next victims. They were still there, and they wanted company. Ryue Station. Lien is an ordinary office worker. He takes a tram to get off work every day. He lives in a small town in the suburbs of Tokyo and has more than an hour away from the city center. His job is to be a programmer in a software company. His boss is a harsh person and often let him work overtime late. His life is monotonous, there is no fun, and there are no friends. One night in 2004, he was left over by his boss again and worked overtime until 11 o'clock. He dragged his tired body and walked to the nearby tram station, waiting for the last bus. He looked at the timetable and found that the bus was separated at 11:15, and it took 7 or 8 minutes to go to his town. He felt okay, and he could go home to sleep without waiting for too long. He bought a ticket, got into the car, and found a vacant position. There are not many people in the car, most of which are tired, like him, a slave squeezed by work. He took out his mobile phone, planned to watch the news online, or play games, and pass the time. He went to 2CH, Japan's largest online forum, and he often browsed various topics here, and sometimes he also expressed his opinions. He saw a section called Spiritual Event, and he was very interested in these things. He felt that these things were more interesting than his life. He opened a post with the title, "I met a ghost in the subway." He looked at the content and found that a person said that he saw a woman wearing a white robe in the subway. Her face was pale, her eyes were empty, and her mouth kept thinking about something. He said that he was scared and wanted to get out of the car, but the door could not be opened. He could only watch the woman walking towards him and then disappeared suddenly. He said that he later checked and found that the subway station had a fire and many people died. One of the women was very similar to the one he saw. Lienchard looked at the reply and found that some people believed that some people didn't believe it, and some also laughed at him. He felt that the story was very interesting and scary. He imagined what would happen if he encountered such a situation. He decided to reply to that person and said, "You really met a ghost, it's terrible. Are you okay now? Have you went to the hospital for examination?" He pressed the sending and waited for the other party's reply. He looked out the window and found that the car was still driving without stopping. He felt a little strange. He took out his phone and looked at the time and found that it was 11:35. He thought, this is wrong, isn't this bus just 7 or 8 minutes? Why haven't you arrived yet? Is there something wrong and the car was forced to delay? He looked at everyone else in the compartment and found that they had no response. Some people were sleeping, some people were reading books, and some people were listening to music. No one was strange like him. He felt incredible. He stood up and wanted to ask what happened to the driver. He walked to the front and saw a door with a clear room. He knocked on the door without responding. He knocked again and did not respond. He tried to push the door and found that the door was locked. He felt strange. How could the car commander not in the car? Did he encounter something? He took out his phone and wanted to call the police to report this situation. But he found that his mobile phone had no signal and he couldn't get out at all. He felt very panicked and he didn't know what to do. He had to return to his seat to continue the internet to see if there was any new news. He returned to 2CH and found that the person hadn't responded to him yet. He felt disappointed. He wanted to talk to him and disperse his attention. He decided to post a post and said, I encountered a strange thing in the subway. The car kept constantly. It had been 20 minutes. He hopes that someone can reply to him, give him some suggestions, or comfort him. He refreshed the page and saw several people responding to him. He hurriedly opened, looked at the content, and found that some people were concerned about him, some people were questioning him, and some people laughed at him. He saw a reply and said, Are you joking? Which line are you, which direction, and which carriage? Are you sure you have no wrong car? He felt that the question was reasonable. He replied, I'm in the Chiyoda line of the Tokyo Metro. From the center of the city to the suburbs, I take the third carriage. I have no wrong car. I take this bus every day. I am familiar with it. He refreshed the page and saw that there was only one reply said, Are you talking about the Chiyoda line? Then which station should you be at? You see if there is any sign outside the window? He felt that this problem was also reasonable. He replied, I should be in my station in the town, but I looked out the window. I didn't see any signs. There were only some dark tunnels. I don't know this. He refreshed the page and saw a reply saying, Are you in dreaming? You wake up quickly. This is impossible. You are talking nonsense. He felt that the reply was rude, and he replied, I'm not dreaming. I'm awake, don't believe me. If you don't believe it, you can come to me. I am in the third carriage. You can take a look. He refreshed the page and saw a reply saying, Okay, I'll just reply when you are true. Why don't you go to the chief room to see, or talk to other passengers, or click the emergency button, or do it well. I will continue to tell. This is my story. Text. I waited for a while, the car stopped, and the door opened. I picked up the school bag and got out of the car, and wanted to see what this station looked like. When I got out of the car, I felt very cold. There was a smell of stinky in the air, which made me uncomfortable. I looked at the station sign, which reads Ryu's Station. The font is very old and the color is dark. It seems that no one has been here for a long time. I looked at the station and found that there was also darkness inside. There were no lights, no one, and only some spider webs and dust. I think it's strange. Is this station abandoned? Why does the car stop here? I want to go back to the car, but I found that the door has been closed and the car has drove away. I panicked. I wanted to shout, but no one responded. I could only hear my echo. I took out my mobile phone and wanted to call the police, or family, or friends, but I found that my mobile phone had no signal and I couldn't call anything. I feel desperate. I don't know what to do. I had to walk out of the station to see what it looked like outside. I walked out of the station and found that there was a darkness outside and I couldn't see anything. I explore forward, hoping to find some light, or some people, or some road signs. I walked for about 10 minutes without finding anything, only some weeds and stones. I think it's strange. Is this a wilderness? Why is there a station here? Am I going wrong? I want to return to the station, but I find that I can't find where the station is. I lost my direction. I don't know where I am. I feel very scared. I don't know if I can survive. I took out my phone and wanted to go online to see if there was any new news or what help. I found that my mobile phone can still access the internet, but only 2CH can be available and other websites cannot be opened. I think it's strange. What's going on? Am I attacked by hackers? I had to go back to 2CH and see if anyone responded to me. I returned to 2CH and found that many people responded to me. I hurriedly opened it, looked at the content, and found that some people were concerned about me, some people were questioning me, and some people laughed at me. I saw a reply and said, "Are you funny? You said you are at RUS station. It is a non-existent station, a urban legend, a ghost station. Are you writing a story and want to scare the story, want to scare bluffing we?" I think this reply is very ignorant and boring. I replied, "I am not funny, and I am not writing a story. I am really at RUS station. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if this is a ghost station. I only know that I am very dangerous now and I need your help." I refreshed the page and saw a reply saying, "You said you are at RUS station, then do you have any? What strange things do you see? For example, some ghosts, or some monsters, or some curses, or some spells." I think this reply is curious and interesting. I replied, "I haven't seen anything strange. There are only some darkness, and some silence, and some air conditioning. I don't know if there are ghosts, or monsters, or curses, or spells. I don't want to know. I just want to leave here." I refresh the page again and see the page, seeing the page and seeing it, 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 seeing the page, seeing it. I saw it, and I saw the page and saw it. There is a reply saying, "You said that your mobile phone can still access the internet, but you can only get 2CH and other websites cannot be opened. Then have you tried 2CH search function and search for your location, or like a month the information of the station, or other related things?" I think this reply is smart and useful. I replied, "I haven't tried it. I will try it now. Thank you for your suggestion." I press the search button, enter RUS station and wait for the results to appear. I saw a lot of results. I opened the first one and looked at the content and found that it was an article about urban legends at RUS station. I looked at the content and found that it was written like this: "The Tsukumachi station is a non-existent station, a urban legend, a ghost station. It is said that this station only appears at specific times, specific locations, and under specific conditions. The name of this station originates from an ancient myth, telling the story of a mysterious festival held every February, known as the Suki Matsuri, dedicated to commemorating a goddess named Suki. She was a beautiful and tragic goddess pursued by an evil demon king. To escape the demon king, she leaped into a lake and transformed into a daffodil. The demon king, in his pursuit, dispatched his minions to search everywhere. They captured all women, questioning if they were Suki. If not, they were killed. If yes, they were taken back to the demon king. Many innocent women lost their lives to them, staining the land with their blood, their souls unable to find peace, and their resentment filling the heavens and earth. Later, a courageous hero, hearing of this tragedy, decided to rescue Suki. He found the lake and the daffodil, drew his sword, intending to cut the flower and take it away. However, just as he was about to act, he heard a voice saying, "No, no, no." Startled, he discovered the flower could speak. He asked the flower, "Who are you?" The flower replied, "I am Suki, a goddess." I don't want to go with you. I want to stay here and die. The hero asked, Why? Don't you want to live? Don't you want to escape the Demon King's pursuit? The flower replied, No, I don't want to. I have nothing left to lose. I have nothing lovely left. I just want to quietly die, together with this lake, with this world. The hero said, How can you say that? How can you give up like this? You are a goddess. You should have higher ideals, a greater mission. You should strive for the peace, justice, and beauty of this world. You should join me, fight against the Demon King, save the innocent, and create a new future. The flower said, No, I don't want to. I don't believe in these. They are all lies, fantasies. This world has no peace, no justice, no beauty. There is only war, evil, disaster. I don't want to see these again. I don't want to be involved in these again. I just want to die quietly, with this lake, with this world. The hero said, How can you be so pessimistic, so desperate? Are you influenced by the Demon King's curse? Have you forgotten your nature, your radiance, your love, your hope? Have you forgotten your name, your meaning, your story, your legend? You are Suki, you are a goddess, you are a daffodil, you are a miracle, you are a blessing, you are a legend, you are a Suki Matsuri. The flower said, No, I am not. I am not a goddess, not a daffodil, not a miracle, not a blessing, not a legend, not a Suki Matsuri. I am just an ordinary woman, a pitiful woman, a tragic woman, a dead woman, a forgotten woman, a woman without a name, without meaning, without a story, without a legend, without a Matsuri. I am just a Suki, a Suki, a Suki. The hero said, No, you are not. You are not like this. You are blinded by the Demon King's curse, deceived by the Demon King's trickery, controlled by the Demon King's fear. You must wake up, break free, resist, fight, win, be free, be happy, be Suki, be Suki, be Suki. He said that, reaching out to grab the flower, wanting to take her away. However, just as he was about to touch the flower, he heard a loud voice saying, No, no, no. He looked and saw that the Demon King had appeared. He was tall, his face was hideous, his eyes were burning, he held a long sword in his hand, and behind him were a group of minions, all terrifying monsters, all cursed beings. The Demon King said, Who are you? Why are you disturbing my Suki? Why are you trying to take away my Suki? Why are you hurting my Suki? Why are you killing my Suki? Why are you destroying my Suki? Why Suki? Why Suki? Why Suki? He said that and swung the sword, trying to stab the hero. The hero couldn't dodge in time, was scratched on the chest, blood flowed out. He felt a sharp pain, then knew nothing. When he woke up, he found himself in an unfamiliar place. Glancing around, he realized he was at a train station, and the sign read Tsukumachi Station. He wondered, what's going on? Wasn't I by the lake? Wasn't I fighting the Demon King? Didn't I die? How did I end up here? Examining his body, he found no wounds or bloodstains, as if nothing had happened. Puzzled, he wanted answers and to leave this place. He noticed a train halted at the station with a sign reading Chiyoda Line, towards city center. He thought, This is my salvation, my way out, my journey home. Quickly boarding the train, he found an empty seat. The train wasn't crowded, and most passengers seemed worn out, like slaves exploited by their work. Taking out his phone, he intended to browse the internet for news or play some games to pass the time. He accessed 2CH, Japan's largest online forum, where he often browsed various topics and occasionally shared his opinions. He stumbled upon a section titled Supernatural Events, an area that intrigued him as he found these matters more interesting than his own life. Clicking on a post titled Encountered a Hero at Tsukumachi Station, he read about a person claiming to have seen an armored man at Tsukumachi Station. The man had a scar on his chest, held a book, and had a determined gleam in his eyes. The witness tried to talk to him, but the man didn't respond, as if he couldn't hear, see, or feel anything. The witness discovered later that the man was a legendary hero, a guardian of a goddess named Tsuki, the initiator of a festival called Tsuki Matsuri, the creator of a place named Tsukimachi Station, the protagonist of a story named Tsuki, and the inheritor of a legend named Tsuki Matsuri. The witness expressed admiration, reverence, gratitude, and a desire to join the hero in visiting the goddess, participating in the festival, exploring the place, listening to the story, and continuing the legend. The witness wanted to become his disciple, friend, comrade, Tsuki, Tsuki, Tsuki. Reading the replies, the user noticed some believed, some doubted, and some mocked him for making up a story. Finding the story familiar, strange, and terrifying, he imagined what he would do if faced with such a situation.